At the center of all love I stand, and from that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and throughout the world. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael, and we're closing out this week's activity with the Ask program for attracting money for hierarchical purposes. This still, even as it was 70 years ago, remains a crucial factor in the preparation for the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. If we think of how we do spend money and how humanity in general spends money, and especially perhaps how those who are among the so-called 1%, the super rich, spend money, we don't find in general a justification for it. The very factor of sharing, which is so needed before the Christ can actually return, is missing. And the governments do not reflect this attitude of goodwill sharing among themselves. There is some, and when catastrophes strike, their aid comes forth, but as a general tendency, the attitude of sharing, which I think will help to lead to peace, another one of those requirements, is unfortunately rather missing. So every Sunday with the sun representing the flowing golden prana, which vitalizes all things, we undertake this work of meditation for the attracting of financial resources, for the work of the hierarchy, for its externalization, and for the coming of the great Lord, the Christ. Now, we've been doing some reading from the book, The Problems of Humanity, and we're in this chapter which is relevant. It's a chapter on capital and labor. And we've reached the point where we're dealing with certain questions which arise. And so let's begin there. And what is said here actually is quite, even before this point, is quite interesting. And I think I just want to read it as a segue. We need to grasp somewhat this picture of a worldwide condition of misery based on both the capitalistic and the labor movements. To see this entire picture realistically and fairly. In some form or another, the interplay between capital and labor, between employer and employee, and between the moneyed interests and the exploited masses has been present. With the steam age, the scientific age, the age of electricity, these are progressive, of course, and the age of planetary intercommunication, I suppose we're in that now, this evil grew and spread. Capital became more and more potent. Labor became increasingly demanding and restless. The culminating struggle was presented in the World War and its aftermath, a 30-year war in which capital implemented the war and the efforts of labor won it. I think that's such an amazing statement, and that attributing the Great War, combining World Wars I and II, to this conflict between capital and labor. And it seems that labor, well, let's say capital profited from the war, but the efforts of the masses of people who represent labor actually won the war on behalf of those forces of light in humanity which represent the hierarchy of light. So then, certain questions arise, and this is a potent sentence. In the answering of these questions, humanity will solve its problems, or, if they remain unsolved, the human race will come to an end. Now, this was written to a great extent after the war. And here he is predicting or holding as a possibility the possible end of the human race. So it's pretty dire in its warning. And here are the questions. Is the capitalistic system to remain in power? Is it entirely evil? Are not capitalists human beings? Well, you know, we do see some extremely philanthropic, extremely wealthy individuals, and sometimes the children of such individuals feel a huge responsibility in how they distribute the resources available to them through inheritance. So we cannot approach the answer to this question with a blanket statement. Yes, capital is evil. No, it is not evil. We have to look more subtly into it. Will it remain in power, or will certain aspects of it remain in power? That is the question. Number 2, will labor itself, through its unions and its growing power, vested in its leaders, become a tyranny? DK already hinted at that possibility, and the fact that the leaders of the labor system were themselves, in a way, capitalistic, and were looking for their own selfish advantage. Obviously, there are abuses on both sides, probably the abuses of capitalism looking at the 19th century and, also the 20th in the less developed countries has been the worst. Number 3. Just trying to get this so that it is centered. Can labor and capital form a working agreement or amalgamation? Do we face another type of war between these two groups? Or, let us say, shall they recognize that they both really need each other, and shall the welfare of humanity as a whole be one of their major objectives? How shall this work? We've seen great standoffs and battles. We've seen attempts to kill the unions. We've seen the unions strong-arming capital and placing them in untenable positions. We have seen a kind of war at times. Number 4, in what way can the law of supply and demand be implemented so that there is justice for all and plenty for all? Apparently the Tibetan sees this as possible, even plenty for all. Now, it hardly looks like it at the moment when so much goes to so few, and you have children sent out on the garbage heaps to see if something might be extracted, even to eat. So, it's an air sign age we're entering, not only the age of Aquarius, but the other air signs, Gemini, brotherhood, and Libra, fairness and justice. And perhaps the influence of that sign will contribute to what the Tibetan obviously thinks is desirable here, justice for all. Number 5, must some form of totalitarian control be adopted by the various world governments in order to meet the requirements of supply and demand? Must we legislate for material ends and comfort? Well, this was written even before 1949, the year that Alice Bailey passed on. And if you think of it, the whole communistic system in China was just coming into its inaugural power. And Mao Zedong was taking over, and it was indeed a totalitarian government in order to meet the needs of the people and, of course, as always, the ambitions of the leaders. So the question is, can people themselves see the necessity for sharing, that there be justice for all and plenty for all, and that there be a supply which is rightly distributed among those who need? Or must it be enforced, willfully enforced by a few in positions of power to make sure that it happens? And this sentence is peculiar. Must we legislate for material ends and comfort? Well, the sentence does not exactly make these goals seem bad or useless. Material ends have to be met, and a certain degree of comfort has to occur. We can't live our lives as if we were always under excruciating hard labor. So, can the lawmakers of a country see to this right distribution? And can the people adopt that attitude? All of this is being worked out even now, and recently, after a period in which a better distribution through a more just means of taxation saw or occurred or emerged, we do have again the return to the few owning most everything and cornering the market, as it is said, kind of a scorpionic idea, for their own protection and comfort, and for their manipulation of the masses to do their bidding. Okay, number 6. What standard of living will, in the new age, seem essential to man? Shall we have a purely materialistic civilization, or shall we have a spiritual world trend? Well, this does not yet seem decided. DK warned, I think he warned particularly the United States, that if they proceeded with their selfishness, they would fail to realize how little materially really is needed for a happy life. So I suppose there is such a thing as spiritual materialism, or the right use of matter for spiritual purposes. This, in the Aquarian age, and with that particular type of energy, seems a possibility, and a good one. Number 7. What must be done to prevent the moneyed interests from again mobilizing for the exploitation of the world? Well, okay, this is 70 years later, and in many ways it is happening. We are told, and the economists tell us, that there's a war against the middle class. The middle class is shrinking, and what could be considered a decent living and adequate sums and material for the right raising of children and their education is being severely challenged by the super rich. Wealth taxes are now being proposed by those who are more advanced. In the election coming up, of course, this may be listened to, if it is listened to, at any time, but we have the 2020 election coming up, and There are some who would like to see a better equalization of distribution, and they say so directly, and they say we must have wealth taxes. Okay, going on a bit. These are such important questions, so let's see whether it's possible to, yeah, it's possible to finish them. Okay. So the moneyed interests are again mobilizing for the exploitation of the world, and the third ray is a great danger when misused. Even in the heavens, it's out of alignment with the arc of the handle of the dipper in which it is placed. So that's at least the symbolism that shows us that adjustments need to be made. And finally, number 8, what really lies at the very heart of the modern materialistic difficulty. So DK is implying that a deeper search will be necessary. The last question, he says, can be answered in the well-known words, the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, in a way, the love of lower desire, which can be fulfilled with that symbol we call money, is the root of all evil. We're hanging on to our lower personal desires. This throws us back on the fundamental weakness of humanity, the quality of desire. Of this, money is the result and the symbol. Okay, well, I think, there's plenty there to ponder, and I don't think we need go any further right now. Let's just say that this is the beginning. Sometimes this keyboard is not quite responsive. But, well, I think I will know what that means. All right. And our next meeting, where we discuss this book and the general financial situation, is on the 6th. 6th of October and 19. Okay. Well, I'm just going to have to let it go. It's not responding the way it should, but I think it will be sufficient to... Oh, I got the small letter. Oh, sorry for this. That will have to do. Okay. So we'll simply put the little marker there and take up where we left off toward the end of page 79. Okay, friends, much to think about here, and we are all implicated in this. We don't have to be a captain of finance to answer these questions in the way that seems most indicated when the light of the soul pours into our mind. Now let's go to the meditation per se. And we'll switch. And go ahead. Well, every week we're supposed to be saving something in terms of time or money for the teaching, and preferably both if we can manage that. And we can review how we've done the last week for just a moment. We have a great responsibility here. The Tibetan begs us. That word beg is a powerful word. And every once in a while, when the matter is really urgent, he uses the word beg. I beg you to do this. Now, for a master to say such words, we had better attend, because even the Christ, we are told, has need of financial resources in order to reach the needy sons of men. I ask your aid and I await your decision. So the Christ cannot come as the all-conquering hero on the white horse, by human hands and human feet. This is how the new civilization will be built. So every week we try to understand that the work has to be supported and that it's crucial. I may have told you about the time during the Second World War when Alice Bailey thought they just couldn't continue. There would not be sufficient money for them to continue the work. It was a heartbreaking time, but somehow they got through it. Now we go on. And we enter concentration as a soul within the personality, responsive to the higher state of soul. And the first thing we do is realize the occult law. To those who give shall be given, so that they can give again. So basically, we are to achieve a positive and intended personality quietness, and to formulate clearly to ourselves and in our own words the answers to the following questions. If money is one of the most important things needed today for spiritual work, what is the factor? He keeps it in the singular, you notice. What is the factor which is at present deflecting it away from the work of the hierarchy? what is my personal attitude towards money? Do I regard it as a great and possible spiritual asset? Or do I think of it in material terms? If actually the sentence is, what is my personal responsibility in regard to money which passes through my hands? And these days there's so many ways. Of course, it's no longer strictly a cash economy, and we seem to be beyond writing many checks. There are other ways of receiving and giving money. Taking all those into consideration, what is my personal responsibility in regard to money which passes through my hands? Am I handling it as a disciple of the Masters should handle it? And this little addition about Hercules and the Hydra. We are all the bright son of Hera. We are disciples, and we have a battle with the negativity which is built into the human form, into the personality aspect. So have we recognized this Hydra head of the love of money, or the love of lower desire, really, and the weaknesses that it has inclined us towards? This Hydra is powerful in the life of humanity and may even affect us, though we assert that we are disciples in training. So do we have a method of overcoming any influence that we might find from this negative stream of energy? Now, with these questions considered, we ponder on the redemption of humanity through the right use of money. At first, we visualize the money in the world as concretized energy, at present largely used for material purposes and for the satisfaction, where the individual is concerned, of purely personal desires. Let's see if we can see that. But this need not and must not continue to be the case. Just before the year 2025, that we're in that period, the closing years of the Forerunner, we have the reassertion of materialism and the denial of its danger. However, we are working to help humanity realize something more subtle. And we can visualize then money as a great stream of flowing golden substance passing out of the control of the forces of materialism and into the control of the forces of light. So money has been tied up in the dark, in form, supporting that which passes away, which is impermanent and of lesser value, but it can break free and flow towards the Christ and his hierarchy. There is enough of this resource. It's a question of its right distribution. It is the flowing golden prana, the symbol for that. And where that prana is directed, creation will happen. Will it be the creation of that which holds the human consciousness in further bondage, or the creation of that which leads to its liberation? Then we say the following invocative prayer with a heartfelt desire to meet spiritual demands, concentrating our minds. O Thou, in whom we live and move and have our being, the power that can make all things new, turn to spiritual purposes the money in the world. Touch the hearts of men everywhere, so that they may give to the work of the hierarchy that which has hitherto been given to material satisfaction. The new group of world servers needs money in large quantities. I ask that the needed vast sums may be made available. May this potent energy of thine be in the hands of the forces of light. This prana, this creative force, is divine and has to be used for purposes which move towards the expression of divinity. And then we visualize the work to be done by those groups which claim our present allegiance. Any group which you know is attempting to carry out the hierarchical plan. And through the creative imagination and by an act of the will, we see untold and unlimited sums of money pouring into the hands of those who seek to do the Master's work. And then we say aloud and with conviction and emphasis, He for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in His name, and with faith in the response, will see it accomplished. And we remember, as we think in this way, that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And now we become specific. And we say to ourselves, thinking about the projects we wish to support with our money flow, I ask for the needed money for, and then we name the projects to ourselves. And I can demand it because from the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. And in our creative imagination, we see ourselves and our groups of contributors preparing to give our offering to the Christ and his hierarchy. We are as if gathered at the feet of the great Lord to offer this gift, considering all that has been given to us. It's the very least we can do, and we say together, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. And then we offer to him and to his hierarchy that which we have saved, that which we have designated for the task. So we close with a kind of consideration of our overall responsibility to the divine plan. We look ahead, we plan our weekly cooperation with hierarchy, and we let these words ring in our ears. The Tibetan says, be practical and realistic, and know that if you do not give, you may not ask, for you have no right to evoke that which you do not share. we attempt to feel true love sweeping through us. And we adopt the fixed intention to express this love to all whom we may contact. Love is the great attractive and selfless agent in world affairs. So love and money, the second aspect, and the third must be rightly related. And here we have a chance to think about some few of the worthy destinations for the stream of flowing golden substance which we want to direct under the symbolism of money. And so we resolve to give this money rhythmically and consistently, and to invest, it must be said, our time in the great project of seeing to the reappearance of the Christ and the externalization of his hierarchy. Great energy is needed to help prepare men's minds and hearts for that event. And now we sound the Om 3 times, precipitating love and wisdom into the worlds of the threefold personality, and backing this up with the flow of that creative pranic energy which will help materialize those vehicles through which the love and wisdom can flow. We want to thank you for attending this Sunday meditation. It's an important one, whatever time of day we may give it. It's supposed to be done in the morning, you know, but we can't do that because it's not morning all over the world. Now, we will continue a little bit. Our Ask schedule basically does not continue on Monday and Tuesday, but in this particular case, later on Tuesday, we will have the Identify as Being workshop. We continue looking at what's really behind everything we see in the world of form. And I've provided you this week, because I'll be on a train on Wednesday evening, at 8 o'clock GMT with another one of those solar webinars on a treatise on cosmic fire, because I don't think I can broadcast from the train. If I can, we can have a little discussion about it. And Wednesday we resume with the triangles meditation in the morning. We'll be on the evening schedule there, so it'll be the science of triangles in the morning, and maybe we'll be able to, I think, broadcast the normal triangles in the evening. Let's see. Yes, that's correct. Tuya might be able to do that from the Little Bear Meditation Center. So there are many ways to serve. The Tibetan has offered us a few in particular. The triangles work, and the work of world goodwill, love and goodwill spread throughout the world. The spread of the great invocation, utterly necessary. And he has asked that we meditate on the reappearance of the Christ and on the attracting of money for hierarchical purposes, which we continue to do. And meanwhile, we add our esoteric understanding to try to help rectify the political, social, religious situation, which is so out of balance. We work internally for that. We work on the glamours which afflict a great majority of humanity, and the illusions which take their place once the glamours have been somewhat dealt with. We work through the gathering of the Christ energy in the chalice, through the Blue Rose Sisterhood, because we have to really feel this Christ energy. It helps us spread the love. We work academically through the Moria Federation, and we serve accordingly and deepen our meditation. We work psychologically in general. The new and coming science of psychology advanced through the University of the Seven Rays. We provide you with a little music as we go. Music which is directly targeted towards our goals and spiritual aspirations. And we do thank you for participating in our broadcasts and our webinars. So many blessings to everyone, lots of love from Tuya and from me and from the whole team that brings you these broadcasts and webinars. Bye-bye for now.